Good evening. I'm excited for you guys to talk to this author because this is a reschedule because I had. Hey, that was fast.
I'm efficient.
I love it. Welcome to Let's Go Live. I'm Gigi Meyer and I have with me dark romance author Rhea Ryan. I am so happy to have you finally on here. And I know the last time we rescheduled because it was my fault. I think I had some issues.
That's okay. Totally understandable.
Okay, so I did a deep dive. For those of you that don't know, me and Rhea are in a baby authors group. And so we've been engaging with each other on like a behind the scenes. But this is our first time meeting face to face. I'm so excited. Look at that pretty face.
Aw, thank you.
The face behind the logo.
I know. I know. When I started this, I'm like, I'm not showing my face. I'm not showing my face. And then here I am. So,
I know, but people really
Hi.
like more about authors. They really do. They just want to like know about our lives and where the inspiration comes from. So
Yeah, no, I've done quite a few lives now. I've kind of gotten over it, but
yay!
I swear when I started, I'm like, no, it's pen name. I'm going to be super secretive. I'm not going to show my face.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Do people like, does it matter now at all?
Uh, no, I don't think so. Like a lot of people in my personal life know about the books and the writing, but just my employer doesn't. So yeah, it's fine.
Well, we won't mention them. Moving on. Uh,
It'll be a surprise.
yeah. When you're rich and famous and you can go back and be like, see what I was doing the whole time?
And then it won't matter.
Exactly. So dark romance, and I had on there thriller because would you consider Shadowface a
I would
thriller?
actually consider all of my work thriller.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I know Pretty Little Island, like it doesn't really have like a thriller typical cover, but and it looks very pink and very like, oh, it's a pretty little island, but it is very dark and deranged. So
It's suspense.
yeah,
That is.
yeah, romantic suspense, kind of thriller, romantic suspense. I think that's around there.
That series though has beautiful covers. I love how you did that. Did you design them yourself or do you have a graphics designer?
No, I have the graphic design skills of like a toddler, so I rely on everybody else to do these things for me. I have an amazing PA that does all my kind of like Instagram like teasers and stuff like that. Like when I try to do it on my own, it's very obvious that it's me doing it, and then when Shelby does it, it gets amped up to a more professional level. So.
Oh, I find there's very talented like social media and PA people out there. I don't have to be one of them. So yes.
No, I'm terrible. I'm also really bad at technology. If there's something I can screw up, chances are I'll screw it up. But
Yeah, girl, same. I feel yeah. So starting at the beginning, why romance? How many books do you have published? And then why romance and romantic
yeah,
suspense?
yeah, good question. So I have four titles technically published. Three in the Bone Love series. So I'll just do my shameless plug.
Ooh, do you have them there? Yeah.
And then pretty little sketches. And then I also have, this is my alternative cover, but this is the second book as well. There's technically, there's three. So there's the two main books and then a novella in between, which is a prequel. And then I have Queen Reborn, which was not intentional, but I joined Meg's anthology last year. And so I ended up with this amazing little novella, and I didn't really know what to do with it. So I'm just using it as a newsletter builder. So you can get it for free just by signing up for my newsletter. So I've been kind of building out my followers kind of that way using the reader magnet. And so, yeah, so that's four published works, and then I'm working on my fifth. Shadowface will be my fifth.
Okay, stop right there and tell everybody what your website address is so they can go out and get the lead magnet.
Yeah, it's www.rhearyan.com. And then if you go in my link tree, there's a sign up on there as well. You can get it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, continue, please.
And what was I saying? Where was I at?
Oh, okay.
Why romance?
Why dark
right?
romance?
Yeah, why dark romance? So I started writing in oh God, the years just blur together. 2022, I want to say. Yeah, it was 2022 when I started writing. And I started because I don't have like a history in writing at all. Avid reader my whole life, always read constantly. And then I started, it was a LinkedIn learning course of all things. And I was at work on lunch hour and I was like, oh, this is fun. It's like how to craft compelling characters. So I just did it just for fun on my lunch hour.
Like a lunch learn?
And then it was a LinkedIn learning. So LinkedIn has like a LinkedIn, you can take these little like webinar and courses and stuff on it.
Okay, I've been LinkedIn forever and I had no idea. So that's so
it's a subscription. So you do have to pay for a subscription. So my employer covers it, so I can kind of take whatever little courses I want. I should probably take more on like how to design and stuff like that. But
super cool.
Yeah. So when I finished that, then I ended up having 100,000 words written like 3 months later. So I was like, okay, clearly I like this. And that was the first draft of a novel that's probably never going to see the light of day. But I wrote that one for about a year. It's in pretty good condition, actually. I should probably dust it off and relook at it. But I took a break on it, and then I started writing Pretty Little Island, kind of maybe December of 2022. That same year is when I started writing Pretty Little Island, and then I wrote that one in like 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh!
And then I published a year later after a few revisions and other. Had to write the novella in there too. So I published the first and second book on the same day.
Okay, but how long did it take? Okay, so to back up, you wrote it in 6 weeks. Was that both the book and the novella?
No, I wrote the first draft of Pretty kind of Christmas 2 years ago, like over Christmas break. So I was writing it around this time I started, and then I finished it on New Year's Day, I think. And then I put it aside, went back to my first manuscript for a few months, and then went back to that one. And then I had to make a decision on which one I wanted to publish. And I decided to go with Pretty. And then I ended up writing the novella on a break, because I don't break. Like, there's no break in my writing life. Like, if I'm not writing one manuscript, my break is writing another. So I ended up writing the novella because my sister read Pretty Little Island, and she really wanted to know more about the backstory of the main characters, the twins. And so I wrote the novella kind of June of that year, and then I just decided to publish them both in December. And so then the first two got published, and then I started writing Wicked Little Island because it does end on a cliffhanger. So I didn't want anybody to read or to wait too long, although my street team members would say they had to wait a really long time, so I'm sorry, but to me it wasn't that long. Then I published Wicked in July of this year, and then now it's full-blown Shadowface.
So is Pretty Little, is that series done with the 3?
It's done. Yeah, it's done. It's complete. It was only meant to be a duet, and then I just threw in the prequel novella because I wrote it. Yeah.
And so how does that land though? Because a lot of people want more.
I think people definitely were sad when it ended. It just didn't make sense to carry on the story any longer. It just wouldn't have been. Sorry, that's my dog, not a ghost. She doesn't want to be in here with me anymore. So yeah, I think it was just meant to be a duet. So I didn't want to extend the story for the sake of extending the story. It was just it came to a natural end.
Yeah. So you wrote that series. Basically, you wrote a whole series from December to what, a year? And then you started in July, and then it came out in July? The whole
The
series.
the whole series or the third book?
The whole series.
The whole series, I started writing it a year and a half. I would say it took me a year and a half.
Okay, that's pretty fast. Yeah, Bookstagram mama. So cute. I think it was wrapped up so perfectly that there's nowhere to go, but I love Micah and Mason and would never be upset with more.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there's never going to be something else. But right now I have a whole saga planned in my head for Shadowface. So that's kind of where my energy is focused at the
I know, but
moment.
what a beautiful compliment, right? When your readers, like you're like, it's wrapped up, but they still want more. That's so sweet.
Yeah, yeah. I was very happy that people liked it because I really didn't have a background in this community at all when I started. Yeah, when I realized I wanted to publish, I joined, you know, Instagram because that's what the blogs told me I had to do.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that I would meet so many fabulous people in the community, but yeah,
Oh,
here I am. I have
yeah.
a
Community.
really yeah, really great street team that supports me. So it's nice to have.
Nice. Shout out to them. So before we get into Shadowface, because I know everybody in the comments is dying to talk about that, we're going to keep them in suspense a little longer. What made you start dark romance, though? What was the inspiration for the Pretty series?
So at the time, I was reading kind of all over the place. I read a lot of fantasy. I was almost solely a fantasy writer for the majority of my life, and I started reading kind of more romance, dark romance. But it was Credence that did it for me. That was my gateway.
Yeah, that's a good gateway.
Yeah, that was my inspiration. I just love Penelope Douglas. I don't think she can do any wrong ever. I've read all of her books, so I'm a huge fan.
Oh, she's talented. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just gonna close my door because it's driving me crazy. I don't have a real door; it's a barn door, which is kind of annoying. But
no, I have one of those in my house too. So yeah, the animals can open it because they're like, hey, hey, mom.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, that's what my dog does all the time. So yeah, so for dark romance, I just started writing, and then I just progressively started writing darker and darker and darker. And I'm like, okay, my brain is dark. So instead of fighting that, I just embraced it, and here we are. I just like writing about trauma and kind of getting through trauma and how that impacts your relationships. I would say I'm a very emotional writer. I like to draw on the emotions. And that is a huge theme in Shadowface. It's kind of the emotional impact and emotions, and that's just seems to be something I am driven to.
Well, don't you think too, as a new author, when you're putting out your first novel, really it starts at that first draft. You're trying to figure out who you are as a writer. You know, are you sweet? Are you steamy? Are you dark? And then when you get into all the subgenres, oh my gosh, it's really trying to figure out who you are first.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I don't think that Pretty Little Island is a typical dark romance. Like it kind of, I didn't do my market research. I didn't know subgenre. I didn't know anything when I started writing it. I studied the craft, and I read a lot of craft books and really dedicated myself to learn the craft, but I didn't know the market. So I wasn't on TikTok. I didn't know it was trending. Like I didn't know any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Amazon. So it's been a huge learning curve from that point of view, just really learning the social media side and the market and what I think readers are looking for. So I've done a lot of work in trying to figure out, just how to really make it slam.
Well, and that's the hardest part, right? That's when you get author after author always like, how do I market? And then what works for Rhea may not work for Gigi, and that's what's so challenging. But
Yeah,
how did you make
yeah.
this
The
switch?
marketing.
Oh,
Go
hold
ahead.
on. Okay, sorry, you like froze for a minute. How do you make the switch from being an avid reader to deciding to write for yourself to then writing for others? Those are
Um,
huge.
yeah, those are big questions.
Well,
Um,
especially because you may have people here that are avid readers that have on their bucket list an idea to write a book, or they've read so much, like, no, here's this story that no one's written. And so you have new and aspiring authors on here who may listen who are like, okay, what do I need to do to become like Rhea?
um, dedication, daily commitment, and hustle. Yeah, it was a shift. It was a huge shift in my life for sure. Because I am a mom. I have two young kids, and they are busy. I'm a hockey mom, so I'm always at the rink, always running to all the practices, all the things that come with that. And I also work full time, and I do have a career that I love, so I'm not looking at giving up my career anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit unique in that way, I think, because I'm not like trying to go full time. That's not a goal of mine. I literally am doing it because I'm passionate, and all the money I make on my royalties, I put right back into the business. So all the money I've made on Pretty Little Island, I put into my audiobooks and on the next book. And I have not spent a dime on myself yet. Maybe that'll change. But really, I'm just doing it because I love it. And, it really is just that kind of commitment to doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to put in the work. You have to, the daily grind. Like it really is a hustle. But it should be something that you're passionate about too, and write something that really you love, because if you don't love it, your readers aren't going to love it. And so that's when I'm writing a scene and I don't like the scene, I won't move on from that scene until I love the scene, because if I don't like it, then why would anybody else like it? So I guess I kind of rambling a little bit, but the shift, from not writing to writing for myself, part of that is just a little bit of how I'm built. I'm just pretty driven in what I do when I decide to do things. I don't know how to do them half-ass. It's either I'm all in or I'm not in at all. That's just how I'm wired to a point. So when my husband figured out that this was more than just a hobby, he's like, oh God, here we go. But
He knows you so
he's
well.
he's supportive.
Well, how do you fit it all in? You have a job you love. You have two babies that you love. You are married. You are in car line. You are in hockey practice. Where do you find the time?
Um, a lot of times I do write at hockey practice. If you look at my stories, I'm always at the rink, and I'll have like, some of the rinks have like Wi-Fi, and those are my favorite rinks because I can just sit and work. And usually, I've written in my car, in parking lots. I clocked a lot of hours in parking lots on writing. And I don't watch TV. I just don't have time. I'll watch movies and stuff here and there, but I just can't commit to a show. So I just don't watch TV.
Well, especially when your characters are not talking to you, when they're talking in your head, you're just like, I'd rather hang out with them than like some other. Really, that's what TV is someone else's creation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And I spend that time writing and usually chatting with Shelby, who's on here. But yeah, usually on whatever marketing I'm doing that day. And then yeah, I do a lot of writing. I'm lucky because I work from home quite a bit, so I do have the flexibility of, like, once my kids are off to school, usually they leave the house at 7:30,
Mhm.
and then I don't clock into work till like 8:30 ish. And so that's an hour.
Hold on.
Sorry,
We lost.
I had a call come in, a survey call come in. So I ignored it. Yeah, and then I write usually at lunch too. I'll put in, a quick half an hour. And like when I know I only have a half an hour block, then it's, I just get it done. So
you
disciplined.
yeah, so you write wherever you can. And do you feel like that's beneficial that you have such a tight schedule? They always say if you want something done, give it to a busy person. And do you feel that that adage is true for you because you only have a certain amount of time, you want to get this knocked out or that scene started?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I usually go from, the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed. I'm usually doing something productive. So
No, right.
it's not for everybody, and I'm not saying that you have to burn yourself out. But when you do have other commitments and kids, like you have to really want it. Otherwise, not that there's no point, but you just have to manage your expectations.
I think that's good advice because it's kind of tough being an author, right? It's not quitting every single day. It's not quitting when your book launch doesn't work out or when sales don't come in or when there's a lull it's not quitting every single day as an author, in my opinion.
No, my sales on my debut, it's almost been exactly a year, and they're almost better now than they were a year ago when I launched. Just because I've been around for that much longer, I've developed that much more of an audience. I'm on TikTok, so I embraced TikTok. I had to get dragged over there, but I'm there. It just wasn't my social. I'm old, so
TikTok is hard to crack. I had an author who had gone viral on TikTok, and it basically retired her out of her 9 to 5, so she can become a writer, full time. But
yeah.
when you figure out the secret sauce, it's so hard to do, and you can replicate her, and it still not work for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I started, I was in that like 200 view jail forever, like a year. And then I finally graduated up to like 700, 800 views. So, but I ended up getting a backup account, and I've been playing around on that backup account. And I've been doing pretty good. I think the backup account is actually like carrying my sales right now. So
dang, that's
I don't want to rag too much on the clock app because it actually has been pretty good for me recently. So.
Okay, so you also have an exciting announcement related to your audio books.
Yes, yes. Well, my audiobooks are coming out soon. They are in review, so I don't have a date because I'm just completely at the mercy of Audible or ACX. But I am overdue from when they said that they were going to review it. So really, any day now, they could be out. So it's the first 2 books in the series are completed. The production is completed. So
because I saw that post, and then I saw the hot dude that's the voice. I can't remember his name. Corey?
Caden. Yeah, Caden.
And I saw that.
Yeah. Caden, I was really excited about Caden because, um, well, he's Canadian as well, so we both have that connection. And then he actually went to the school I work for, so that was pretty exciting. Yes, we had like a weird. I'm like, please don't tell them what I'm doing. But yeah, and so it was just really easy. And he's newer into dark romance, but he's been, I think, kind of not new to the profession at all. He's so professional, and his voice is amazing. And I think if he continues down the dark romance path, that he's gonna blow up. He's really good.
Find him on Instagram or on ACX?
So he actually auditioned for ACX, but I was so overwhelmed with the audition process because I don't listen to audiobooks. I should, because I see the appeal to them, but I just don't. So I had no idea what I was looking for. So I had this sort of audition panel, and I just asked a few of my street team members to help me find the narrator, and we had a lot of good laughs. It was really fun, but he wasn't even on my radar. But he messaged me, and I just looked at it. Yeah, he messaged me on Instagram. He kind of went into my DMs, and I just looked at his website and listened to him. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. Like,
yeah. Stop the audition. We got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't hesitate going into people's DMs. I know some people are like, no, it's too salesy or it's too pushy. I disagree. I think if you do it tactfully and you know, you have a legitimate business and you have, you know, a website and you conduct yourself as a professional, that it should be fine. So
okay, so what made you start with audiobooks? I do listen to audiobooks, but I have to tell you, I almost don't want to admit this, but I'm super picky. And if you don't get the right voice, I'm like, oh, I can't hear this for the next 5 or 6 hours. And I know that's terrible to say as an author, but when I talk to I have a couple ladies in my book club that will only do audiobooks. And so I was like, am I the only one? They're like, oh girl, no. They have their hate list of, you know, like narrators, and they know the second they pick up a book, if that person has done it, or they have their love list. I thought that was so fascinating.
I don't know. I am so green when it comes to audiobooks. I've been kind of muddling my way through the entire process, and it's been very stressful, to be honest with you. But because even now, like, you know, it's been over 10 days since I submitted them, and ACX hasn't approved them yet, which is super frustrating, and I'm not patient. So
I know.
Anyhow,
I always find it fascinating how people can get audiobooks. You know, if you're an indie, traditional is understandable because you have like a whole team behind the scenes to get all the different formats. But when you're an indie such as us, I'm like, how in the world do you get your ebook, your paperback, your hardback, your audio all launched and together? I just feel like, does that take like a year ahead of time? Is that like a super long release, you know?
Yeah, I think you have to prepare for the audiobooks in advance. So I don't think I'll have my audiobooks for Shadowface ready for launch. And I'm not even going to put that stress on myself. I'll get them done when they get done. It'll be what it'll be. So.
Yeah. But you started the whole process through ACX?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Lauren from our baby author group, I had some like desperate messages to her because I knew that she was going through it. So I messaged her like, help, like you have to like explain it to me like a kindergartner, like what do I do? Like, so she was very patient and amazing and helped me kind of get the ball rolling on ACX because I really had no idea what I was doing.
So for those of you guys that are listening, she's talking about Lauren Sorensen. I had her on here, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago. No, a month ago. And so she is doing an audiobook for The Trouble with Christmas, I think is the one that's coming out. And I don't, that woman is like a mom, you know, she has a bazillion things going on. She's lingerie fitter for her main career. I was like, ooh, I bet you have some stories about that.
But I didn't catch that. What was that?
She's a lingerie fitter.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I bet you have some like misters coming in for the mistresses. But anyway, off topic.
Yeah.
But she has a billion things going on similar to you. And when she told me about getting into ACX and, you know, doing her audio, she's like, it's a whole deep dive into another world.
Well, and she's doing a Kickstarter on top of that. So that's like a whole next level of craziness.
Super tight deadline. She's like, yeah, that's due in 3 weeks and that's due in 4 and that's due. And I was like, girl, I would have ulcers if I had those kind of deadlines.
Yeah. I've been looking into Kickstarter. I like the idea of Kickstarter in theory.
Too.
I just don't, maybe down the road I'll do it. I'm just trying to take baby steps in learning the ropes of all the publishing stuff. So like, I'm not going to do audiobook and Kickstarter all at once and stress myself silly. So I'll just do one thing at a time, learn it, and then build.
Well, you're busy.
Yeah.
Mom and your career.
Yeah.
So switching into Shadowface, tell us what is it roughly the blurb is about? Where did the idea of this book come from?
Yeah. So it's a dark college romance. And it's about, I don't want to give I don't know how much to give away sometimes.
No, no spoilers, but that blurb was fire when I was reading it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's about, you know, a dark stalker, kind of secret society, and you know, he has a reason for stalking. And the only spoiler I'm gonna give, and yes, I went here and I did not mean to go here, but I ended up writing half the book, and then I realized what I was missing in the book, and so I had to go back and start it again, and then kind of reintegrate it. But the main male character actually has dissociative, I'm not saying that right, like dual personalities, essentially. There's a technical term. I'm trying to be very technical. But I'm like, oh, I don't want to go there. But I went there. So.
Okay, so why didn't you want to go there? Was the
Um,
subject too challenging?
because I just didn't want to write something just for the sake of like doing a trope. I wanted to make sure I was respectful to, you know, the disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a long time, like a long time researching, which is another thing. I spend probably equal amount of time, especially my first draft and second draft, researching. My books are heavily researched. Like I knew nothing about survival for Pretty Little Island, but I spent hours and hours and hours researching survival stuff. So you would not know that. That yeah, I think that's just my kind of academic background. I just have that skill set. So I when I decided I wanted to do this, I just needed to do it right. And my main male character is also a psychology professor. So
oh, okay.
I will leave it at that. On that. It is very complex, very complex story. So it has a lot of spice. So don't worry about that. But I'm definitely more of a plot first, spice second kind of writer, and so I need to make sure my plots just hit it in the right way. So it's taken me quite a while to write this one because of the complexity. But it's funny because I've actually written 60,000 words of the second book, which is, so it's a series of interconnected standalones. And so this one is actually takes place, it's Shadowface 1979. So it actually takes place in 1979. And that story just absolutely flew out of me. When I was on a break from Shadowface, I wrote most of the second book already. And it was sort of the same thing that happened with Pretty Little Island, where I just wrote it like a machine. Like it just it poured out of me. Shadowface did until it didn't. And then I kind of wrote myself into a corner. I'm a pantser. I tried plotting and I never follow my outlines at all. So I'm like, no point in trying to plot. So I've embraced my chaotic pantsing. So.
Well, okay, I have to back up a moment. How did you know, though, that was missing? You said you wrote the first half and then you had to go back and rewrite it because you're like, something's missing. How did you know?
Because I had this other character talking to me and I'm like, well, who the hell are you? Like, you aren't even, like, you're not the same character. So it was another voice in my head. That sounds really bad or weird, but it was just true. And I'm like, hey, who is this voice? Like, what is this voice? And then I was thinking about it, and then I was like, you know, okay, I know what this voice is. So I had that aha moment, and then I went back and had to, the plot stayed the same, but I had to integrate this other, like, thread it in.
Well, and then when you write a character such as that, and you said you did a lot of research, and I think, you know, you have to, because if you don't suffer from it, or you know anyone that does, then you're like, how do I write this authentically? Because of course that's what you want to do. So I know why that took a lot of research.
It did take a lot of research, tons of research. I'm kind of a just-in-time researcher, if that makes any sense. So I don't spend a lot of time researching in advance. I kind of figure out what I need to research, and then I research it. And then that usually opens up doors for other ideas and things like that. So I spend, quite a bit of time on my Google search history is very interesting.
It's like FBI worthy.
I you would think there was something wrong with me if you looked at it. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Some of the stuff that I had to research for this book is literally insane. So, but it was fun. I spent a lot of time on Reddit threads, actually, with people who have the disorder, and I spent a lot of time just listening to how they talked about it and I'm trying to approach it in a very respectful way.
There's a lot of people on TikTok, or not, I don't know, I shouldn't say the word a lot, but there's several, it's well represented on TikTok about how it manifests, and people are talking about their journey and how they live with it. And some of them have multiple, lots.
Yeah. I don't want to ruin anything. There's two primaries, but
there's some good stuff in there. So yeah, you get in bed at night with your hubby and you're like, hey, guess what I learned today?
Oh yeah. He doesn't ask, and I don't tell. So yeah, he is not a huge reader. So he did read Pretty Little Island, but he read like an early draft of it, and that was it. And honestly, it's probably for the best. It's just easier if my family doesn't read it.
Exactly. You're like, yeah, they're like all parts of me. Just
no, I know. And then like my brother-in-law and stuff are like, okay, we bought your book, we wanted to support. He's like, but I haven't read it yet, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I don't care. Like, it's probably easier if you don't read it. It's fine.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm not relying on family and friends to sell my book.
So is Shadowface done? You said you had to rewrite it.
So I'm
right. So
I'm on the I would call it like the kind of draft 3 of it. So I'm still finessing the story. So I'd say the main story is completed, but I'm really working on characterization and character arcs and some of that finesse stuff that you put in like later drafts. Because all the hard part of putting the hard plot together is over, but it was almost like my brain couldn't handle anything else in that draft. So now I'm kind of working on threading in some of the other pieces just to really make it shine right now. So I'd say I'm 3/4 the way done on the draft, and then from there it'll go to beta readers and then to copy edit. So the end is near.
Do you have a release date for those that are like listening in?
No, I do not. There is nothing more stressful than an Amazon release date.
Oh, I know. You cannot miss that. So we'll count.
No, so I put the release date for June, but I plan to publish in probably April. But
yeah,
I'll finish the manuscript, and then once it's like ready to go, then I'll move the release date, and then I'll announce the release date. But until then, people will just have to trust that it'll get done.
It's coming. So it's fascinating because you said the first draft is like the hard plot. The third draft is the characterization and all the finessing of the character arcs. What's the second? Is that going in and adding the spice you had mentioned earlier?
It's probably reshaping the plot. It's still probably more structural stuff on the second. Gotcha. The first is just, getting these like chaotic thoughts out of my brain and into the on the page. And usually in my first draft, I have a lot, like the characters definitely speak to me a lot. Mm-hmm. So I have to have a notebook nearby because I'll start thinking about dialogue and I'll start thinking about all these things, and these scenes like just start consuming me. And then, so usually the first draft is kind of just getting, from A to Z and as quickly as I can. And then the second draft is sort of really my favorite draft almost, because I find that's when the story really comes together, because I can take pieces that really worked and kind of work with them. But I'm a huge believer in you do not edit your first draft, you rewrite your first draft. I'm a firm believer in that, and I'm sure there's some authors who would hate me saying that, but Um, I do think that the really amazing writing for me anyways comes with rewriting it, because yeah, it's just better the second
Well,
time
the
around.
first draft to me also is telling yourself the story, and then you had said you're a pantser, and so
Mhm.
sometimes you don't know where it's going to go. Maybe you have an idea of where it will end.
Yeah, yeah, I usually have an idea of sort of how it will end. Um, but that's changed here and there. Like I rewrote the ending for Pretty about 3 times, I think. Um, and I
Was it
know
that?
not every was it that different?
Yeah. Was each ending different from each other? Well, let me rephrase. Are there alternate endings that you could add to your website to your loyal readers?
Potentially.
Ooh.
Yeah, there is definitely I could have went a completely different direction for Pretty in particular. I know I devastated a few people. So I could
Good.
write an alternative to that. Um, yeah, yeah, definitely, for sure.
Because how
Um,
would love to just see, because people like to see like who the author is behind the scenes. So I think it'd be kind of interesting to just stuck those out there and be like, hey y'all, yeah, I'm here for the Ashley. I'm here for the alternate ending. Tore our hearts out and smash them. It's so funny.
I'm sorry. I know. I cried so hard writing that book. Every single draft, I cried, and I'm not a crier. Like that's the thing. Like I don't cry. Like crying is just not something I do. So the fact that I was crying means that I was really pouring it into those pages. Um,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I don't think there's gonna be any crying in Shadowface though. So yeah.
Okay, so Shadowface, you're three-fourths done on the third draft before June 2025. And then you said you already started the second book on a break. What does that mean?
So usually between drafts of my manuscripts, I just need to shut it out of my head so I
Yeah.
can come back to it. And so when I was on a break from Shadowface, a break to me is writing another book. So I started thinking about the second book in the series, and then I just started writing it, and then it's not 100% done, but it'll be finished as soon as this draft of Shadowface is done. Like I'll finish that one pretty quickly. I think I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly how the story is going to go. The characters in the second book, like that one will destroy people. So yeah, the first one is a little bit more thriller, but the second one, that's the one where I'm gonna like tear people's hearts out. So
Okay,
watch
is
out.
it a duet or are you going to have a series, a trilogy?
So yeah, I mean, I have an idea for 4 books, and I've set up 4 books.
Cool.
Um, so I will publish the first 2, see how they do, and go for it. And if people don't love them, then I'll move on. But hopefully they do.
Leslie said I'm here for it though.
Oh, the series, or for me ripping your heart out?
Probably both. Probably all 4 books and ripping her heart out, smashing it to the floor like you already did with your other series.
Yeah, I'm that's the goal. Um, um, yeah, so I'm really excited about the Shadowface series for sure. The first book I'm really excited about, but the second one I'm like dying inside. I almost want to get through the first one so I can publish the second one, because it's just, yeah, I think it's my favorite book I've written to date.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so will you publish that at the end of 2025? Because if you're able to do Shadowface, before June, and you said you want to move it up, Shadow Daddy, and then do you want to try and get the second book published and closer?
Um, Maybe we'll see. I think one of the problems well, I don't want to say problem, it's not a problem, but I think that there is a missing art of like anticipation with this generation, because everybody's like, now, I want it now, I want it now. And there's something to be said for like being excited about something. So I don't think even if I have it done, I will necessarily publish it like boom, boom. I might just purposely extend it out a little bit just to make the cadence of my releases makes a little bit more sense. And in that way I can put everything I have into the releases too, because they do take a lot of work, and I've learned so much about book marketing that I want to actually implement some of the tactics that I've learned on book marketing that I wasn't able to do on my first series. And so I have just a lot of plans, and I just want to make sure I do them right. So yeah, I will publish. It won't be that long, especially because the second book is just absolutely flying out of my head. Like I don't think it's going to take a lot of revisions. Like I think I just nailed it. So we'll see. Yeah, no promises, but
Y'all,
I'm going to be excited to get it out.
I was trying to pressure her on behalf of you guys, and she did not crack.
No.
I was get her to commit to a date, and she's like, no.
No. And then even on Amazon, like I learned that you can just put it out and put like a placeholder date, and that's what I'm going to do from now on, because there's that Amazon deadline is ridiculous. Like so many people just like put the deadline and they don't realize, like, no, put it out and then move it forward.
Way out.
Yeah. Like do that. Don't just put it on a date that you don't think you're going to hit. Because then you're just going to either publish sub-quality work, or you're going to miss your deadline, and then you're going to lose your ability to have pre-orders. So
yeah. Ashlyn, girl, I got you. I was trying, but she wouldn't play ball with us. So what's next? You said you have book 3 and 4 in your mind plotted, or do you have like a rough outline? And if you do a book a year publishing, you're talking out to like 2028 almost.
Yeah, I think I might be able to do a little bit closer than a year, like one a year. I would say it's probably more like one every 8-9 months. So beyond, are you talking like beyond Shadowface, you mean? Or just...
Yeah, because, let's be honest, as authors, we kind of get antsy, right? Like Shadowface is your world now, just as like he was your world. But then you have new ideas, and we get that shiny new idea syndrome, and you're like, oh, kind of like where you are now, right? You want to hurry up and finish 1 because 2 is so good. And then 2 will be, you want to hurry up because 3 is so good. So that's why I was wondering how long you can stay in this series as the author, because you know it all, you're going to write it all, and then you're like, on to the next.
Well, the 3rd and 4th, I don't have even an outline. I have like a rough idea. I've kind of set it up in book 1. So I think once I dive into what the plots will actually be, I still have a lot of figuring out to do. But I don't know, because I don't really outline. I do a method called skeleton drafting. I don't know if you've heard of that method.
No, educate me.
So it's sort of a mix between an outline but a first draft. So it's like you write the story in your head, and you're writing words, like you're writing in scenes, and you're starting from the beginning and you go to the end. But it's like a 0 draft. So you write what you kind of have immediately in your head, and then you if you get a scene and it's not really speaking to you, then you can just write in like a scene, like enter in scene, and this is what happens in the scene. And then you might have another scene where it plays out in your mind, or it plays out in my mind like a movie, and then I write it out. So I did that for the second Shadowface book in the summer. I actually wrote like 0 draft while I was on vacation, and it was 25,000 word I ended up with like a 25,000 word outline that I called my zero draft. So when I went back to start writing it, I had all this amazing content to work from instead of staring at like a blank screen. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I've already thought of all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just built on my skeleton draft, I'll call it.
Yeah, that's
So it's
cool. Is that like an Excel or is it a
I
Word or how do you keep
do
that?
it on Scrivener. I write everything on Scrivener. So it's just how I would start any book. Like start, scene one, start at the beginning. I have my characters kind of fleshed out. And then, you just start writing what you think you want to write. And then when you get to places that you're stuck, you just stop and move on. And then you get to the end. And then, yeah, you have like a really concrete outline, but they're words that you can actually use as part of your draft. So it's Stephanie Holmes is the author that I got this from. So it's a tried and tested method. It's a real method. I'm not making it up. But that's
You did.
yeah. But that's the method that I think really works for me instead of having this like spreadsheet of scenes. Like I hate spreadsheets, so it just wasn't working for me. But this way I can actually just write out these vivid scenes and write out the dialogue and write out all the things that you get excited about wanting to write out when you're outlining. And so that's my method.
I like that because there's so many different ways to write. We talk about beat sheets, there's all the books. You said you did a deep dive into craft, so you learn about dialogue tags and scene setting and that kind of stuff. But you have to figure out what works for you, especially if you're a pantser. We have to know like loosely where the curb is on the road, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I like that zero outline.
Yeah, for me when I discovered this method. I'm like, oh, this is me. This is, I think, really works with my brain and how I just need to get things done. Yeah. Like, have you ever done those like insights, like the color personality tests?
Oh yeah. I worked for a financial institution and we all had them. And then some of my clients, oil and gas. And if you ever like oil and gas is huge in Houston, obviously. And so
I live in Calgary, so I'm like oil and gas mecca of the north. So I get it.
So the oil and gas companies, you have your name badge that you wear and they have the colors, like primary. So they're like red, blue, yellow, and green. So if I was your colleague, I could see your name and I could see what your colors are. So then I can know how to, communicate, how to transfer information, how you process what you're taking.
Yeah. So that exactly the colors. So the red, blue, yellow, green. So the red is like go, go, go. Like you have to be actioning before you think things through, and you just like to kind of get things done. And then I don't know what yellow and green are because I have very little yellow and green in me. But the blue is like really analytical, so you need like all the information. And so I'm a red and blue combo equal. So I need all the information, but I need to do it now. So it's like very exhausting in my brain.
Okay. I didn't know, Ashlyn, you're in Houston, Texas. Oh, we need to reach out.
Is that where you are in Houston?
I'm in Houston. We have like, our temperatures are heat, humidity, and hurricanes. That's it. That's all we got.
So funny enough, I'm Canadian, obviously. I'm from Calgary, born and raised, but my dad lives in San Antonio. So I have connection to Texas. And then his wife is from San Antonio too. So so I do have a soft spot for Texas. I absolutely love visiting. Really excited to go down there in 2026 for.
I'll let you on a secret, okay? You will be a local, like a native Texan if you say San Antonio.
San Antonio, yeah.
It's like we know when y'all aren't from here because you're like San Antonio. We're like, yeah, you're not from here.
You call it San Antonio.
San Antonio.
That's what you call it?
Yeah. Okay. So we were like, we just went over there to San Antonio. We just cut it off. And then who else is on here from Louisiana? And then we call Louisiana, you'll go Louisiana or Louisiana.
Right, I'm having wine, just so you know. I forgot I had it. It's like, oh, my wine. I poured it earlier.
Ashley, she's She goes, I love San Antonio. That's what we always say. So yeah, you'll be like, we go over there to Louisiana. So we call it Louisiana because, I mean, let's be honest, Texas and Louisiana, like they have a hurricane. We run over there and help them out. Vice versa. They help us out. It's like one state, Louisiana and
All right.
Texas, even though we're.
Do you want to see what I'm dealing with
Yeah.
right now? I will move my computer or my phone and I will show you.
Is it snowy?
We got dumped like 30 centimeters.
What?
Yeah, it's insane. I don't know if you can see that.
That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Yes, I love it.
So that's what I deal with right now. So yeah, we're kind of snowed in at the moment. Yeah, which is why I wrote the snowed in trope because I know it so well. Because we're always snowed in.
Okay, you know how you said you're a researcher? I'm a researcher about snow because we don't get it. Like I can't remember the last time we get it. We just like to get hurricanes. We have all sorts of, like Southerners in here. She's from NOLA, New Orleans, and then we have Shreveport, which is I've been to Shreveport. I've driven through there on baseball tournaments. So yeah. But anyway, this is about you. I didn't mean to hijack.
No. It's fine. Yeah, no, I was gonna show all the snow we got because we woke up and yeah, it dumped on Monday. We got a huge dump. And last night it snowed again, like 5 centimeters. It's supposed to snow again. Yeah, and it'll be like this now till March. So.
Oh, dang. Okay, well, I'm not built for the snow. I don't know how to drive in it, shovel it, how to plug my car in, any of that stuff.
People don't know how to do that here either, to be honest with you. So you'll be fine if you're
I'm not married. I'd have to be married just to have the man do all that man stuff with the snow.
Yes. Yeah. My husband definitely does the lion's share of the snow removal in this house.
Like, that's men's work. I hate to be was it chauvinistic? I was going to say sexist, but either one works. So where can people find your books? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Amazon primarily, but you can look, everything is sort of, I'm creating the hub of my website. So like all my links to my audio and everything that is me is on my website. So www.rhearyan.com. You can also check my link tree because I have stuff in there as well. And I'm looking into doing some like special edition, like kind of signed pre-orders for Shadowface as well. But we don't have a postal service in Canada right now because they're on strike. So shipping is a real issue up here. It's very expensive. So I don't really benefit all that much from doing signed books. So I'm looking into it. But right now it's mainly Amazon.
Okay, where is Shelby? Is she in Canada too? Is she in the States?
Shelby is in Louisiana.
She's in Louisiana.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah, I forget what city she's from, but
there you go. Would you do sprayed edges? Those are beautiful.
Yeah, I do have plans for sprayed edges. So these Shelby and Ashley on my street team designed these for me. And so I'm gonna do these eventually, but I just got signed on with a book box, and so I have the Dark Desires book box is doing like a special edition omnibus, like beautiful dust jacket for the series. And so I just wanted to wait until that was done, and then I'll get some of the sprayed edges done. And I'm also going to be doing them for my signings that I'm doing next year. So I'll be in Sinners and Stardust in Boston, and then I'm actually doing one in Canada, and then I'll be at Kink and Ink in Dallas in 2026.
Really? Yeah. We're going to have to get together because, Dallas is so close to me. It's only 4 hours, and it's like an easy road trip.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm going to go to San Antonio when I'm done too and visit.
You? Okay, we converted you. I didn't even say out and about.
Out and about. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Canadian colleague, and everything was that that elongated O. So we only have like 1 minute left because IG will cut us off. So we'll do a really fast rapid fire questions. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. Do you like paperback or e-reader?
E-reader.
Are you a plotter or a pantser?
Pantser.
Do you write in first person or third person?
First person.
Are you plot driven or character driven?
Both.
Ooh. Do you like to write alone or write with a partner or writing sprints?
Alone.
Do you outline or discovery write?
Discovery write.
Do you write in silence or with music?
Music.
Do you write at your own pace or with a deadline?
Self-imposed deadlines.
Series or standalone?
Series.
Historical setting, present day, or future? What are your books set in?
Present day.
Excellent. What